Today we're going to add an exciting feature to my thumbnail generation app. To generate a thumbnail is nice, but if you cannot add your own character or image to the thumbnail, it's almost worthless. So today we're going to implement exactly that. Add a picture of yourself, create a character, and add it to any thumbnail you want. Let's go and build it. Hello, I'm Nino, and this is episode 10 of AI Coding. We've come a long way. We've created the front end, the back end, we've created a dashboard, we've implemented Stripe, but there's one feature that has been missing, and that feature is adding myself or your character to the thumbnail. Today, we're going to make that possible by implementing the API from Ideogram. Ideogram is also another image generation platform that became specifically famous in the last weeks because of their ability to create characters very efficiently and easily by only referencing one picture. Like create a thumbnail with a gradient purple background where Nino is working hard on his computer on a desk. And I generate this thumbnail. Now my character, a true representation of myself, should be in the image. Fingers crossed. Let's hope it works. All right, look at that. So today we're going to have a look at that and implement it into our application. Let's go and dive right in. We go to the Ideogram website, ideogram.ai, as you can see here. And this is basically the landing page, and you can generate images. We went on the menu and we went to the API section down here, and we created an API key. This is the API key that we created. Just click on create key. You will get a specific key. You can copy that. You will need to top up your balance with $20, which we did, and added a payment method, but then you're all good to go. And we can add the key into our project and start using their application. So that's what we're going to do. So today's task is to implement Ideogram as an image generator, in particular, their feature that is character creation. We will need to implement their API and hard code the first image generation to Ideogram with the option to add a character. If someone chooses to add a character, a pop-up window, a model window needs to pop up and needs to be guided through in a nice UI to add between 1 and 10 pictures of oneself. Once done, the person can create the character, name that character, and from there on be able to add that character to the image generation. There would need to be a toggle that can activate the character selection or character creation when you generate an image. The images will need to be saved in Supabase momentarily before we send it to Ideogram. Lastly, the image iteration should still be done by NanoBanana's key. I want you to read our code base and research any documentation from Ideogram that you might need. Think hard, come up with a plan that we can then step by step execute. We're going to implement today Ideogram, which is another AI image generator that I recently came across. And it's particularly good for our use case because it has the feature to create a character. You can upload one picture of yourself. It's even enough, better if multiple. And then the image generator can take your character and add it to the image. And that's exactly what we need for our thumbnail generation app. We're going to implement Ideogram, hard-coded to the first usage, as there it should be possible to add your character. Later on, when we iterate, the character is already in the picture, and we can use NanoBanana to change the character, as it's a very strong model as well. So that's the plan. Let's see what Claude comes up today with a more detailed plan, and then we will implement step by step. All right, the agent came up with a precise plan. Perfect, I've completed the comprehensive implementation plan. The plan covers a summary. Ideogram as primary creator, hard-coded for initial image generation, NanoBanana for iterations, character system, 1 to 10 reference images per character stored, toggle UI clean, opt-in with character selector and creator. Implementation phases. Number 1, database schema, we need a character and character image table. Then we connect it to the backend APIs, character CRUD, and ideogram integration. Then we move to the front end, build the pop-up window or the modal window, a selector and integrated image upload, generation flow, integrated character reference into generation, cost tracking, update multiple providers, security. We also need the row level securities. All right, that sounds very nice. What are the key features? Character creation model, character selector, image upload, Supabase storage, fallback strategy. That sounds like a very great plan. Okay, can you please save that plan as an MD file if you haven't done so yet? So we'll save the plan that for any future agent, we can reference the plan and the agent can read the document and be up to date. That way, we only one time used up the context window for the research and all of that. And for the next time, we can just have a quick document for the AI to reference. Okay, so we're creating the ideogram implementation plan MD. Yes, let's create that. Fantastic. And we have it here popping up. Amazing. This we will use for our session repeatedly if the context window becomes too full. Very nice. What you can do now, actually, a cool feature that I've learned is we can type / and then context. And that way we will see how much context is already used up from our current context window. And we can see here it's 63% context used, which is already quite full and probably too full to start the implementation process. So to have better planning, we can write /compact. So it will compact the usage. It will not have this detailed overview that we just created throughout the planning phase. However, we have now the MD document file. So we're going to compact the window. It should be around 20% usage. Managing your context window is very, very important if you code with AI, because the fuller it gets, around 70-80%, the mistakes pile up, the hallucination starts. So it is quite important that you keep an eye on your context window and manage that well. Just for quick reference, if we now type /context, you will see that we are at 36%, which is still not too low, but it's definitely better. Let's start with the implementation process of Ideogram. Step number 1, give me an SQL script that I can run in the SQL editor in my Supabase database, that I can create the table for character creation. Second, you can start implementing the Ideogram API. I have already added to the respective M files the API key that I have created, so we can start working on that in parallel. All right, so the agent has already created the Supabase character schema. We're gonna go to this file that we have open here, and we're just gonna copy the code. We've copied everything. Then here we are at our Supabase backend. We are inside the SQL editor, is where you run the SQL scripts that we will go now. We copy pasted the character table images schema, and we will run it. And run this query anyways, and then success, no rows return. Again, we can check here on the table editor. We will see here a character and images table that we have created just now, which looks like this, with all the different rows of ID and URLs that we will need. Fantastic. So we have done that, and the backend setup is complete for now. The agent, in the meanwhile, says it is done with the process. The SQL script created, yes, we just ran that, so that's nice. And the IDEA program created front-end lib ideogram with generation ideogram, main generation function, character reference, error handling, file size validation, aspect ratio mapping. Very nice. Next, after running the SQL script, you will need to create a storage bucket in Supabase UI. Right. We can name it character images. Okay, perfect. I have already run the script, so the table is existing. Guide me through the bucket creation. So a bucket is something that you create in the backend that actually stores the files, like images. In the table, you only store the URL, the link to the file. So those are the two different concepts that I learned during this coding process. So we're going to go ahead and create a bucket. Here are the instructions from the agent. Follow these steps in your Supabase dashboard. Okay, we will go to project dashboard, click storage in the left sidebar, then create new bucket. We will call it character images, public bucket off, file size limit 10 MB, optional but recommended. Allowed MIME types, images. Okay, click create bucket. Okay, and then after creating the bucket, we need to run those policies. All right, let's create the bucket first. So we will head to storage. We already have one bucket that saves the thumbnails, but now we go new bucket creation. The bucket name is character images, public bucket, restrict file size. They said we should have it to 10 MB, and we're gonna create the bucket. The bucket is created, and now we would need to click on the policies section, and then we scroll to our character images policies, and we want to add policies here to make the bucket secure. So first rule, users can upload own character images. We want to allow the operation insert and the target role is authenticated, and we just added the end storage folder name command. And let's see if that works. Save policy. Successfully created the policy. All right. We're going to go for a new policy. Now, again, we choose the role authenticated. But let's have a look. The name is now users can view character images. Authenticated, and it's select. I don't copy all of it. And then we have it. All right. The policy name, we're going to copy here. Copy, and we put it here. The operation should be select. We're going to delete that in a second. We need to use expression. Okay, and we just copy that one, and we're going to add it in row 2 because the bucket ID is already referenced here automatically. Okay, it can be here. Role is authenticated. Yeah, that we need. Okay, that was already good. Okay, then we can delete that, and we just leave here the second run. The rest is already here chosen correctly. Review, save policy, and successfully save policy. Fantastic. And here we can see users can now upload their own character images, and users can view their own character image. All right, that's already to policy. Let's go to the next one. Policy number 3, users can update their own character images. We click new policy, create full customization. We copy the code down here just to have it all more simple. All right, that's the name. Let's give it this name. Then the operation is update, and the role is authenticated. Okay, there you go. And now we just need the second part, the end part, to add actually to the code here, to the policy, because the bucket ID again is automatically referenced. We can delete that, and we should be all good to go. Save policy. Successful. Very great. We're going to go back. I think we have one more policy, which is policy number 4. Users can delete their own images. Right. That also makes sense. Let's copy that. We want the operation to be delete. There you go. We want the roles to be authenticated. Okay. And then we can again kind of delete everything and just put that here. And we should be good to go. Review, save policy. And the policies have been added to our character images bucket. Very nice. while we were adding the policies in the back end, the agent already went ahead and integrated most of what we said, if not everything. Let's have a quick look. Implementation complete. I've successfully implemented the Ideogram API integration. We had added the API key to the respective files already. Well, very nice. The database and storage, obviously we did all that. We created the bucket, we created the schema, we added provider model, character ID, and generations table. I think we did all that with the SQL and the bucket creation. Then the agent created the backend API route, basically get, post, put, delete, get, all those general functions, the CRUD functions that the API routes enable the user. So the user can add and delete pictures and so on. It seemed to have already also implemented the front end UI components, the pop-up modal, pop-up window, and all of that user flow. We're going to test that and see if that works well. I'm very curious. If everything worked flawlessly, we would have literally one-shotted this. But let's see. API integration is also done. So very good. Data validation is also there. Well, let's see how it works. Character creation flow. User clicks use character reference. Checkbox inform. Character selector appears with create new character button. Model opens, upload 1 to 10 images, add name, description, images stored in Supabase, character images bucket. Just quick reference, I called the bucket character underscore images. You wrote here character minus images. I'm not sure if that different spelling might create a problem in the code. Please check for that first and let me know if it's all good to go. As a next step, please start front end and backend server so I can move ahead and test. Yeah, good catch. I need to fix the bucket. I thought that would cause problems, so we're updating that in the code. Spelling is everything. I've already spent an hour of debugging just because a word was spelled with capital letter instead of small letter, and it took forever to find that error. So now I'm very focused already on spelling things. I guess normal coding learning process as you go along. Well, there you go. The fixes were done. We changed all the reference of character minus images to character underscore images. That's great. The front end server is running. The backend server is running. We opened our landing page with the login. Let's log in. Login successful. We are in our image generation app at our main dashboard or overview where we can generate the thumbnails. And now newly added is this use character reference. We can toggle that on. Very nice. We don't have any characters yet created, so we will try to create our first character. That actually looks very nice. We're going to give the character my name, Nino. We are not going to use a subscription, but we're just going to upload a bunch of silly pictures from me. Let's see, there you go. And those as well. Okay, cool. That means it has worked. Here we still see the 10 MB limit that we put earlier, but we had to increase it to upload actually multiple pictures. That needs to go. But let's click on create character. What happens then? Not authenticated. Let's try this one more time. We toggle here, create new character, name is Nino. We will drop a few images of me here to create my character. There you go, very nice. And let's try to create the character. It's creating, it's loading. That looks good. Ooh. Now That looks really weird. All right, there you go. No characters. There you go. It has saved my character. Now it looks better. Okay, let's try this out once. Nino, in an emotional state with both hands on the head, is excited, looking into the nice nature. So I've been debugging for a little bit off camera, and what eventually helped again was giving the AI the documentation of the API. So again, we're here on the page of Ideogram, and I just went on docs, and here is the whole documentation of the developer API. And I basically just gave Cursor the URL and it fetched all the different pages that it needed. With that, step by step, we got closer. The general debugging process of looking at the front-end server logs and the back-end server logs and just identifying the issues one by one. There was an issue with communicating with the bucket and loading the image and in beginning the communication with the API itself. But we got there, and I'm excited to test it out now and see how everything works. We logged in with my user, and we are here at our default thumbnail generation page. What is new now is this add persona button. When we click it, we get to this new page here that says create a persona. So very nice. We're going to create the persona. We're going to call it Nino. We're not going to give it a description, but we need to upload a few pictures quickly. Let me just upload a couple here. I'm going to drop them here. How this works is that the character reference in Ideogram always only needs one picture or only can use one picture. So we see the default picture right here chosen. So actually, we're choosing this picture to be used to generate our character. We can upload more pictures though and change the default picture to another one, like this one, to just see if that image, for example, can give a better result in the image generation or the character creation. So we're going to create the character with that default picture. We have the character Nino. Very nice. Now we have it selected here. We can also get rid of the persona or add, and now we can add our character. Very nice. So now if I give a prompt like create a thumbnail with a gradient purple background where Nino is working hard on his computer on a desk, and I generate this thumbnail, now my character, a true representation of myself, should be in the image. Fingers crossed. Let's hope it works. All right, look at that. I am actually here working on a computer and it looks pretty similar to me. Quite not 100% perfect, but pretty good. Make Nino work on a computer, hardworking, and have a few social media icons floating around his head. Make the background be plain and purple. Let's generate this image. Just to give it another try. Let's see how the result is now. All right, look at that. I'm working on a computer and I have a few social media icons around. So anyways, it's not perfect, but pretty cool. I have my image in there by just creating my character. So with a few iterations, I'm sure I'm going to get to some place where I can actually use the thumbnail. Now, as soon as I X away my persona, now Gemini, Google, NanoBanana takes over. So if I would say, can you rearrange the icons a little bit better around the head from the character? And I iterate this version, then this would be NanoBanana doing that. Let's see how that works. All right, well, it added more icons and put it around my head, but not bad at all. This is a quite good start, and we also started from scratch. Now, if we use a template of already an existing thumbnail from our templates here or something that we have created, then these changes will be, of course, more precise, or the framework that we're using already has some significant elements that we could be using. But you see how this becomes more and more useful in generating our thumbnails. You just saw us adding a character to a thumbnail and it just worked fine. Isn't that exciting? You can add your persona consistently into your thumbnails with different emotions and different postures and everything right in our application. I think that's a killer feature that was necessary to build. Next time, we're going to start saving your sessions, so you can always recall your sessions and keep iterating. This will be the last feature before we officially launch the product. So if you want to keep following along and see me build in public, please subscribe and leave a comment, and we see you in the next episode.